The man who killed 10 people at a King Soopers in Boulder is pleading not guilty by reason of insanity. Questions about the shooter's mental capacity and whether he understands the charges against him have delayed the trial, which is now due to start in August.
To help us better understand what is happening in all of this, we brought in 9 News legal analyst Whitney Traylor. Whitney, good morning.
Good morning to you both.
Help us understand this plea a little bit more. So he pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. What exactly is that?
Right, so the short answer is that is his defense, saying that at the time of the shooting in 2021, he didn't understand right from wrong. And therefore, it makes sense, because when you look at what the prosecution has to prove in every case, there's 2 elements. There's the mens rea, that's the mental state. What was their intent? And then there's what's called the actus reus, the act. Did they do the act? And here there's overwhelming evidence that he did the act, and I don't think his defense team is even disputing that. So now the issue is, did he have the proper mental state? Did he understand right from wrong? So that's going to be their defense.
There's 2 big issues at play here. Obviously, competency has also been an issue in this case. So talk about the difference between the insanity plea and also competency.
Sure. So the insanity, as I just explained, is what his mental state was at the time of the shooting. Here, competency is, does he have the ability to go forward and assist in his own defense? So you have to be able to communicate with your lawyers in trial. You have to be able to understand the allegations. And up until now, he had difficulties communicating. And so the reason for this delay is actually in 2021, the judge deemed him, he was deemed incompetent. And so then they forcibly medicated him. And it was just a month or 2 ago that he was now deemed competent. So they then had this preliminary hearing.
Okay, so what happens next? How will the case proceed if his competency continues to be an issue here?
Right, and the defense raised that issue, and they brought in their psychologist saying he wasn't competent, and the judge overruled that. So that is going to be an ongoing issue. So what they did was the judge ordered psychiatrists to now have an examination, state psychiatrist, have an examination by January 8th to determine competency. Then there'll be a status hearing in front of the judge on January 12th in which they determine, and presumably if he's still being medicated, he will be competent, assuming that's the case. So January 12th, they would have a status conference to establish that, and then there's a trial scheduled for August 12th.
Why so far away? I mean, we're at this point now where they have said, okay, we got him to a point that he's competent to stand trial. So much can happen between now and August. Why the delay?
There's so many issues. This is such a high-profile case, and there's so many claims, and the competency was, I think, the primary issue. And that's a great point, though, Corey. The prosecution may push to move the case forward if in January he is deemed competent, because that's a great point. It's, he's competent now. We're ready to proceed. Let's go before there's other issues.
And a judge or a jury will get to make that decision if he's in fact competent.
Yes, that's the judge making that decision. And so prior to this time, the judge had deemed incompetent. And so hard for the families to sit here and wait for anything to happen. And during that time, he's in the state mental health institute down in Pueblo. So yeah, that will be a judicial decision. We'll know in January, and then presumably, as it's set now, we'll have a trial in August.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Whitney, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming in, breaking things down for us.
Sure.